All right, I'm close up to her right there, and that pretty honeybee is sucking nectar out of that bloom, and I'm pretty close. I think you can see it. That was a good one. All right, you see it pollen on that one right there? Look, there's one there. There's one right there. If you look for that yellow pollen, and there's one right there, kind of a beige. There's a yellow pollen. This 70 degrees, it's not springtime yet, but there's another one. They're bringing in the pollen. Okay, it's 70 degrees, it's cloudy. The bees navigate with the sun, but they can see the ultraviolet sun rays. Now the bees are a little testy today. They done popped me one time, and they'll probably get me again. But there's two things I want to go over with you that's very important in the springtime. And the two subjects is food. They got enough food, honey, and the other is swarming. Now I don't write down my script, so I hope I don't forget anything. On the food, beehives, the majority of times, if they starve to death, it's not going to be in the winter when it's real cold. It's going to be in the springtime. Now the queen starts laying about January. She starts laying a little bit, and it picks up and picks up and picks up, and so the closer she gets to the honey, the closer she gets to the honey flow, then you're going to have a large amount of bees in that hive. I don't know if I'll be able to finish this. They're kind of fussy today, and you're going to have a lot of bees in the hive. So let's say that they get real close to when the honey flow starts. That means a lot of blooms are blooming, and they've got a lot of bees in the hive. And yeah, I'm going to have to cut this off and back up. All right, the bees are very testy today, so I had to move back. So let me get back on track here. Hey, I've got a personal experience I had here recently. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you about it. It don't have nothing to do with bees. So if you don't want to hear it, you can hit that off button. But if you like it, you can hit like. But anyway, woo, that fell. I hope I'm not repeating myself. I had to retreat to the woods. They were really getting fussy today, and sometimes they will. When they're making honey, you know, you heard when the wife's happy, you're happy. Well, when the honeybees are making honey, they're happy. Okay. When the queen, she starts laying in January, and as it gets closer to the honey flow, she's laying more and more and more. And you'll have a lot of bees in your hive. And let's say that your hive has very little honey in it, but it's got a lot of bees. Well, they're going to need a lot of honey at this particular time. And let's say that you've got a lot of bees in there, and the honey flow is going to begin in 3 days, we'll say. All right, it starts raining. Well, they can't work any blooms, and they will literally starve to death. So more bees will starve to death in the spring, right before the honey flow, than they will in the winter. That's very important. The other thing I want to cover is swarming. Golly, I could talk about that for a while, but you need to go into your hive in the springtime, and it's their nature to swarm. That's how they divide. People have babies. Well, honeybees swarm. They divide, and you don't want to let your bees swarm on you. If you do, chances are you'll lose your bees. You think, well, I'll catch them, and then put them in a hive, and I'll multiply that way. Well, in reality, chances are you won't catch them. And so, go into your hive. If you see a lot of queen cells, they're going to swarm on you in the springtime. You cannot stop them from swarming. Let's say in the perfect world, you go in there and you cut all the queen cells out, which is almost impossible. You'll miss one. But you cut all the queen cells out. You would have to do that again in 10 days. Every 10 days, you would have to go in there and be sure there's not one queen cell in that hive. And chances are that won't happen. So what do? It will take extra equipment, but let's say it's a very, very strong hive. Let's say you split it 4 ways, and so you end up with 4 hives, and each one has queen cells in it. Well, now chances are they won't swarm and leave you, okay? And so you split it 4 ways, we'll say, depending on how strong it is. If it's not super strong, you split it 2 ways or 3 ways. And then after those queens have emerged, they've taken their mating flight, and they start laying, then you can put that back into, you can merge that back into one hive. But I think the biggest mistake that beekeepers make is allowing their bees to swarm. That's a big problem, and so watch it. It's work. You gotta love what you're doing. You can't just let them sit out there. If you just let them sit out there and do what they're going to do, then you might be one lucky person out of 50. But chances are, and when the hive starts swarming, they will swarm to death. A new queen emerges, then the old mother queen leaves with a swarm. All right, the next queen emerges, they swarm, and that hive will literally swarm to death. Now, that's all there is about beekeeping. Let me tell you about an experience I had. If you don't like it, you can turn it off. But wife and I, we go up in the Ozark, we go up in the mountains in Arkansas, we go trout fishing. And I've always heard, them folks up in the mountain are friendly. They're more friendly than anywhere else. I don't know why, but they are. Well, wife and I went up there to Lobo Landing there at Heber Springs to trout fish, and she needed to run to Walmart. You know how these ladies like to go to Walmart. So we go in Walmart. Well, I had to go to the boys' room, you know what I mean? So I go in there, and you know how they got stalls in the bathroom. Well, there's little cracks you can see between them stalls, and so I went in one, and there was a fella in that next stall to me, and he said, "How you doing?" And I thought real quick to myself, I thought, boy, they sure enough are friendly up here, aren't they? So a little bit later, he said, he said, "What time is it?" And I said, "Man, I don't know. I don't have a watch." And then he said, "Honey, let me call you right back. This guy next to me is trying to talk to me." All right. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.